Acoustic Noodles a Go-Go. Hi guys, how you doing? Nick Jennison for Lick Library, Guitar Interactive Magazine. It is Monday. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and talk about the guitar. It is, of course, the Monday Guitar Show. Today, I'm whipping my headphones off because I can hear my own voice in those headphones, and I have just figured out how not to do that. And I'm going to address that in a second. But first of all, hello, welcome on board. How you doing? Today, we are talking about how to sound great on the acoustic guitar. As you will note by the fact that I'm holding said acoustic guitar. I'm going to pop those headphones back on in a second, but I had my own voice really, really loud in my ears for a second there, and it was like, wow, that is super loud. Should have checked that before we went on. But anyway, listen, if you are joining us for the first time, hi, welcome. It's lovely to have you. We do this every Monday. We hang out and talk about the guitar. We aim to give you some cool tips, some tricks, some fun things that you can experiment with and implement in your own playing to hopefully make you a better and happier and more fulfilled guitar player. If, of course, you're a returning streamer, you'll know all that stuff already, and we're going to check in with you guys in a second. But a little word on the subject of today's lesson. Like I say, we're talking about how to sound great on acoustic guitar. That is a subject that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So intro jams aside and all of the notes that we were playing, that stuff's all fun. We're going to focus our attention today primarily on literally how to sound better on an acoustic guitar, how to make your acoustic guitar sound better. But we're also going to talk a little bit about some vocabulary stuff, some things you might play on the acoustic guitar, some ways you might voice chords to make them sound nicer too. It's a whole buffet of acoustic guitar tips and tricks. But before we do that, quick word on today's sponsors. Today's sponsors are, of course, our usual sponsors, licklibrary.com. GuitarInteractiveMagazine.com. Sponsors probably isn't the right word. We don't have a sponsor today, but your lessons are brought to you by these guys over here. So go click these links down below. We get some fantastic courses that we're going to show you in just a little bit. Specifically, there is a course on how to sound great on acoustic guitar by none other than our friend John Connon, Digital John, who's been in doing a whole bunch of Lick Library lessons. He's done a course on how to sound great on acoustic guitars. There are some links down below where you can go and check out that course. It is fabulous. Really, really good stuff. Applicable for players of just about any level too, and that's pretty much what we're going to aim for today. So, talking aside, let's get stuck in with the stream. We're going to say hello to the comment section, and then we'll get on with the lesson. So first of all, let's see who's first to the door. Our friend PJ is the first one in. Says, hi Nick and all, love our Monday sessions. Thank you. That's really kind of you, man. I love our Monday sessions too, right? I always have a great time doing these streams with you guys. It's always a gas. Response audio is in the house. Hi Nick, hi guys, hope you're having a great Monday. I am indeed having a great Monday. It's been pretty good so far, pretty chill as Mondays go. Who else do we have? Response audio is saying, just had the weirdest experience. A van came racing into the driveway with flashing lights on top. I thought it was an emergency vehicle. We were all freaked out. Well, maybe, just maybe, it was the acoustic guitar police coming to get you. I wonder who it was. He says here, I was ready to run outside and see what the H was going on. It was the guy delivering Amazon packages. That seems a little bit over the top for Amazon. Now, I like my deliveries to arrive on time, but I think blue lighting them, that's maybe a little bit extreme for my money, but that is quite funny. Marcin says, hi Nick, congrats on getting those medals. Thanks, man. See these medals up here? These medals? In case anybody's wondering, permit me to indulge my hobbies for a moment. I mean, that's what we're all doing here anyway, right? But permit me to indulge my other non-guitar hobbies. In addition to being a guitar player and all that sort of stuff, when you become a professional musician, you need a hobby. You need something that's not music to occupy you, because your hobby has become your job. I am loath to say it's become a jobby, because that means something else in Scotland, or so I'm referred. So I'm reliably informed. So I don't have a jobby, but I do have a hobby, and my hobby outside of music is that I am a competitive powerlifter. And just gone on Saturday it was. Yeah, Saturday took gold in the under 120 kilo class in the Northeast Strength Culture Open. So yeah, pretty cool. It's my first win. So yeah, chuff for that. Got a really cool gold medal. Very into that. Here's one from Suntanu Official. Says, it's really wanted to know how my acoustic guitar technique can be helpful for my electric guitar playing. A great question. We're going to start that up because a little bit later on we'll be answering your questions. So if you have questions, don't forget, if you've got questions, drop them down below in the chat. We want to hear from you. So if you have questions, don't forget, got a question, drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. Got a question? Drop it in the comments. Anyway, Sacred Godslayer is in the house. Larry Warren is here, always looking to improve the sound. Me too, my man. Me too, my man. Helmet Strap is here. Fog Hornish is in the house. Timothy Appling is here. Mark Crandall is tuning in. Steve McD is here, who's been playing only his acoustic for the last 2 weeks, so this session comes in handy. Hey, man, you know, we aim to please. Cowcat is in the house. Our friend Mika is tuning in. Who else? Crankatom is in with his Epiphone Hummingbird. Fabulous guitars. Really nice choice. Nice choice indeed. Crankatom says, I found a great acoustic lesson of never going back again in the vaults of Lick Library. Quite challenging for me. Quite challenging for everybody. It's a really tough piece of music. Like, that one has been trending on all sorts of social media platforms over the last few months because it is super hard and people are only just realising how complicated it is. It's a very complicated piece of music. Deadman Doogie Van Dugerson is tuning in from Arizona. Daryl Queen is in the house. Mike Seedorf is here. Block 18 is tuning in. Mark McNish is tuning in on his lunch break. Steve Echoes Guitar says, evening all. Steve, it's great to have you on board. Marcine says, acoustic session after weightlifting competition makes total sense. I think so too. My hands are feeling pretty strong today. Block 18 says, congratulations, Nick. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Very good of you. Wow, congrats, says Response Audio. Thank you very much, man. Very kind. Who else do we have? Rick Elliott says, listening to Over the 50 today. Went to a guitar show. Oh, yes, I see. Right. Sorry, my mistake. Yeah. Went to a guitar show in SLO and met Gary Kramer. Nice custom guitars. Very cool. Very cool indeed. Ted Van Doogie Van Dugerson's Scottish Wave has just explained to him what a jobby is. A wee beige jobby belonging to somebody else. Rock Today is in the house. Our friend Paul is tuning in from Canada. Our other friend Paul is tuning in from Switzerland. And last but not least, we have, very quickly, Helmet Strap says, watching a YouTube video suggested many of the great guitarists use the rounded part of the pick. The presenter listed many of them. Any thoughts? We're going to answer that a bit later on because I've got a pal who uses the rounded side of the pick and he sounds great and it is something that I will pull out every once in a while. So anyway, let's get into the meat of today's stream, which is how to sound great on acoustic guitar. And you're going to hopefully, you're going to have to bear with me. Hopefully I've managed to get my own voice out of the sound of this there we go. Got my own voice out with the sound of this headphone set, so I can actually listen to the reverb that I'm playing on now. So I can hear this guitar as you guys are hearing it. I'm not able to have my monitors on, so I can't blare my guitar sound at my guitar, so I have to listen to it in these. And I've managed to take my voice out of there because that was quite disconcerting otherwise. Anyway. Hey, tech setups aside, who would have thought we would have tech issues on the acoustic guitar stream of all things? Anyway, let's get into the meat of today's session. So, acoustic guitar, and how do we sound great on it? Well, first of all, with the acoustic guitar, it should come as no surprise to you that we have less stuff available to us that we can rely on to help make things sound nice. Now, with electric guitars, we got all sorts of gubbins that we can plug into. You will notice I have a good selection of gubbins behind me. I have much more gubbins down on the floor in front of me. We have pedals, we have amps, we have IRs, we have all sorts of cool things that can take our lowly guitar signal and turn it into something absolutely tremendous and worthy of the gods of rock and roll, right? It's a cool thing. With acoustic, we're just a player and a guitar. That's all we got. So it is our job to use our hands and our technique to make the guitar sound as best as humanly possible. And we're going to begin by taking a look at some general points when it comes to making the guitar sound as good as you possibly can. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the importance of your fretting technique. So your fretting technique is something that is super important with electric guitar too, but it's easy to kind of fluff some stuff with electric in a way that you can't get away with on acoustic. I want to perform a small experiment with you. We're going to go to these two cameras, right? Grab your guitars. We're going to try playing we'll try playing a scale, and we'll try playing a comparatively simple scale. We're going to do the following. This is going to be an A major scale, and we're going to play it starting on fret number 5. We're going to play it with our second finger. Finger number 1 will be ready to go on fret number 4. The scale is going to go like this. We're going to play 2, 4, there's our finger numbers, then 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4, and that's it. 2, 4, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. Now, we're going to play around with not how hard we fret or which part of the finger we fret with. We're going to get to all that stuff in a second. But we're going to have a play with how close we are to our fret wire. Now, well-meaning guitarists for decades now have said to us that we should fret as close to the fret wire as humanly possible, and that is halfway towards the truth. Halfway towards the truth. In reality, when we have a guitar that is a little more challenging to play, like an acoustic guitar, we can find ourselves, or certainly I can find myself, leaning a little too close to the fret wire as sort of a safety blanket. Sort of a safety blanket to help me get the note. Because when we get really close to the fret wire, it's easier to press the note down. Here's a little experiment. Let's take, before we do our scale, we'll come back to our scale, let's take, if you're playing an acoustic guitar, your middle finger, let's say, and let's take it right up to where the neck joins the body. For me, it's the 14th fret on this chord guitar, really nice guitar. I want you to press down very close to the fret wire, and then press a little further away from the fret wire. You might notice that pressing close to the fret wire requires a little bit less effort than pressing further away. Let's try it on the 10th fret. Press close, press further away. Now, the reason for this is because there's a little moment arm. We won't get into moment arms. A little moment arm created between the finger and the fret that we can eliminate when we get a bit closer to the fret wire. So fretting quite close to the wire is a good thing in terms of fretting ease, but we're going to perform a little experiment here. Let's go back to our scale. Our scale was the following frets: 5, 7, 4, 5, 7, 4, 6, 7. Any scale will do with this, but this is the scale that we're going to play together. I want you to play this with your finger right on top of the fret wire, as close to the fret wire as you can possibly get it, and then we're going to move it back, maybe about the thickness of a plectrum or 2 plectrums, just a teeny tiny bit. If you look at my middle finger here, you'll see the distance I'm talking about. We're going to move it from here to here. It's a teeny tiny amount, right? But observe the difference in sound. Take a listen to this. That's right on the fret. Here's a little bit further back. Right on the fret. Notice all the additional brightness that comes in when we just stay a little bit shy of that fret wire. Now, this is something that is going to really improve the sound of your acoustic guitar if you are not doing this already. So something to become vigilant about is the position of your finger relative to the fret wire. Now, the reason for this is if we get too close to the fret wire, we can start to roll our finger up on top of the wire, or roll a little bit of flesh from the finger up over the wire above the point where the string makes contact with the fret. So if the string is currently making contact with the 7th fret, as I roll it over, it starts to dampen the tone quite drastically. You can hear that there. Same is true with every finger and every fret. So if we pay attention to our fretting position, we're going to get a nicer sound of our acoustic guitar. Just by default, it's going to sound nicer. Now, this is also true if we're playing chords. So if we take a G chord, let's try this together. I want to know in the comments if you can hear the difference here. Let's try playing a G chord with just a tiny bit of clearance between finger and fret. Some of you might do this automatically, but it's worth paying attention to. Now let's slide that chord just a little bit further up so that we're touching the fret wire with our finger. Notice how dull it sounds compared to if we're just a tiny bit backed off. Now that to me is an absolutely astronomical difference, and not one that you hear a huge amount when you play your electric. So if you're playing electric, this is not going to be quite as pronounced a difference as if you play your acoustic. So on the acoustic, this is really, if you get this wrong, it's going to kill a lot of the brightness and the zing in the tone, a lot of the things that we like about acoustic guitar sounds. It's going to diminish some of that. Now, great players will just do this on instinct. So you don't hear a lot of folks talking about this because a lot of folks that we listen to for lessons, they just sort of know this stuff. They just sort of do it. But folks like me, who have been cack-handed for their entire life and have had to figure out this stuff by trial and error, I had to explore this stuff and really kind of get into it and see what the deal was there, and why my notes sounded dull and other people's notes sounded fantastic. PJ says, dull and short. Daryl Queen says, sounds like it also chokes out some of the overtones too. 100% does. So it's a great way of dulling the sound of your acoustic guitar is to get too close to the fret. Now, the cue that I like to use for this, because it can be mentally draining to try and like keep track of this stuff and try and physically manage your fingers in space and go, oh, I must never play close to the fret wire. You should be thinking about the music you're making and not the position of your fingers on fret. But what we can look for is we can look for the feeling of air under the finger. So what I mean by this is when we fret, we should be feeling a space under our finger. Now, if your frets are very small, you might feel some wood. But for me, I like to feel the air of the string and the gap between the string and the fretboard under my finger. I'm going to go to this camera, see if I can show you. So if I go here, you should be able to take a look there, and you should see that I have a little bit of space between finger and fretboard. If I'm here, I don't feel that air. I feel something solid under my finger. So I should be feeling air under the fingers, almost like I'm playing on air or balancing on a tightrope. That's the feeling that I'm looking for, the sensation that I'm searching for if I notice that I'm losing that brightness by playing a bit too close to the fret. Marcine says it is duller on electric too. It absolutely is, but it's perhaps not quite as noticeable, but it is definitely duller on electric. And it's also very dull if you're playing legato. If you ever wonder why sometimes hammer-ons don't come out, even though you've hit it with the right part of the finger, and you've hit it plenty hard, sometimes it doesn't come out. It can just be because you're a bit too close to the fret. So let the air hit your Ernie balls. Yes, you know what? If you want to use that cue is up to you. That is quite funny though. I like that. That's pun of the day. We're into that. Larry Warren says, for years, people suggest you play right in the frets. So cool to hear this. I agree, right? So we've all had this from well-meaning folks, and it's not a bad thing to say, because playing right back here is going to be laborious and probably not ideal, but we don't want to be right touching the fret. We want to be just behind it with a little crack of air so that we don't feel the fret on our fingers. Basically, if you can feel the fret, you're too close to it. So let's go on to the next tip. So the next tip, that's kind of one of them, and that's going to improve our clarity on everything from our chord voicings all the way through to our single note lead lines. That note's ringing out nice and proud. That note is going to die a swift death. Dull. Right. Now, on to the next tip. The next tip is to do with how we hold the guitar. So, in order to facilitate this kind of fretting hand niceness, this fretting hand ease, and this air under the fingers, we have to hold the guitar in such a way that we aren't supporting it with the left hand. And what I mean by this is, if you are holding your guitar and gripping it with the left hand so that it would fall over if you let go of your left hand, or even if it just feels like it would fall over if you took your left hand off, you're going to be more inclined to reach for this fret wire as support and as kind of, I guess, reassurance that the guitar is not going to fall out of your hands. The left hand needs to be free to move freely around the guitar's neck as if the guitar's neck was fixed in place. And the way we achieve that is with a combination of either a strap or some part of your body, but there is a kicker here, because you might think from that, okay, well, cool, if I'm going to keep my guitar steady with maybe this hand, I'll just hold it like this and it'll be super steady. Well, there is a caveat here. This works fine with electric. With electric, you can go John Petrucci with the the forearm, and you can hold the guitar very rigidly in place with your right forearm, and then your left hand is free just to float all over the guitar to your heart's content. However, with acoustic, there is a difference in tone depending upon how much we're touching the guitar's body. Now, hopefully, this will come across through the pickup system, but if you have an acoustic guitar on your lap at home, I'm going to encourage you to do this right now. Strum an open chord. I'm going to play A minor 7, which in this case is going to be open A, fret number 2 on the D string, fret number, so the open G string, so open, 2, open, 1, 3. Now what I want you to do is I want you to play like this, and then take your hand, place it on the guitar's top, and then lift it off. Hopefully that's coming through on the audio. But if you can't hear that, you'll definitely hear it on your own guitar. I'll do it one more time. Let me know if you can hear the difference there. Now, what's happening here is when we have too much of our body on the guitar's top, it's dampening the top's ability to resonate properly. Now, on an acoustic guitar, the guitar's top is essentially the speaker. It's the speaker cone. Might think about the guitar's body as like a speaker cabinet. The speaker cabinet is, for anybody, we all know what speaker cabinets are, right? You don't need me to explain that. But the cabinet is the guitar's back and sides. They have an influence on the sound, but really the top is the thing that makes the difference in terms of sound. And the top's ability to vibrate is really going to determine how the guitar sounds, and that is determined by the bracing, by the wood, by all sorts of factors. The gauge of string, how tightly tuned the strings are, but also how much stuff you've got on the top. So if you have a guitar speaker, let's imagine for a second, and you played the guitar through the speaker, and then somebody placed their hand on the speaker and dampened it, you can imagine that that speaker is going to sound duller, and the same is true with our guitar's top. So if we're resting very heavily on the guitar's top, it's going to negate the guitar's ability to vibrate and be an acoustic guitar, because that is what makes acoustic guitars acoustic guitars. It's the top. The top vibrates, therefore it projects out into the room. So we have to align ourselves in such a way that we're not putting any additional any additional body mass on the guitar's top than we absolutely need to. So this is what I'm going to encourage you to do. I'm going to encourage you to take the crook of your arm. I'm going to show you on these cameras here. The crook of your arm, take a look at my right hand here, and rest it so that it's on the guitar's edge, right here on the edge of the guitar. From here, the only other point of contact with the guitar should be as little forearm as possible and on the guitar's strings. You can rest on the guitar strings, but there should be lots of air here if we can. Now, this is going to feel a little bit weird to begin with, almost like the guitar is going to fall over. But if you use a combination of your leg and your body's lean, you should be able to get a nice position where the guitar is not going to fall over, and both hands feel free to do their thing, if that makes sense. Now, what position that is going to depend on your personal playing preference. For me, you might have noticed I'm a left leg kind of player. I've done this out of habit. I tend to play live in this sort of position, so I'm just used to the way the guitar feels with this upward neck angle, with the neck slightly away from me. I play a lot standing up, and also it's kind of easier to frame this on a video than it is to frame this, as you can probably tell. So that's just easier to, and also if you're sitting down, you look a little bit podgy if you sit down like that, but this kind of hides a multitude of sins. So if you want to look good sitting down, this is the way to do it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's vanity stuff. So here's a question from Daryl Queen saying, do you have any experience with the armrests that are supposed to address this? If so, are they any good or worthwhile? I don't, but I do have some experience with guitars that have a forearm contour for this very purpose, and I think that's genius. So some of the more expensive Taylors have this, for example. Some Cort have started doing it on some of their guitars. I feel like that makes a big difference. Now here's another one from Rick Elliott, which has also been echoed by a friend PJ regarding the guitar's back. It says, muting of the sound is also created on the back when the guitar is held against the body. Jose Ramirez double back guitar addresses this by having airspace in between. Certainly does. It absolutely does. But it's quite hard to hold the acoustic guitar with the back flat against your body. There's normally a little bit of airspace there anyway. So I totally agree. There needs to be some contact of body on guitar's back, but it should be fairly minimal. Now, if you can take a look, I'm see if I can show you let's see if I can get just this camera. This might be a challenge, but we'll see. So yeah, there you can kind of see my desk, but the guitar is kind of here. So there is quite a lot of space between my commodious belly, I am fat from competition, and the guitar's body, but you can also see that I don't have a whole lot of forearm on the guitar, but I do have quite a lot of leg. So between leg, rib cage, and forearm, leg, rib cage, and forearm, we've got enough contact with the guitar's not going to fall over, and I'm able to fret freely without feeling as though the guitar is going to drop. But I'm also able to keep myself clear of the guitar, which is going to stop it from being dampened by holding it in place like this. So that is a very, very good point, our friend Rick. Yeah, sure. Make sure there's plenty of clearance between the guitar's top and the guitar's body. So how you hold the thing is important, how you fret the thing is important. Let's talk a little bit about picking. So we're going to assume that you're playing the acoustic guitar with a plectrum. You may be playing with fingers. We will address that in a second. But if you're playing with a plectrum, there are some considerations with regards to plectrum playing on acoustic guitars. So one thing to pay attention to, one crucial thing to pay attention to with this is the volume that you're playing at. So it's quite tempting. It's quite tempting if an acoustic guitar is not loud enough to just continue hammering in an effort to get more volume. I feel like every guitar, especially every acoustic guitar, has a maximum volume that it will produce a note at, and it is almost always short of how much force you can put in the string. So spending a bit of time calibrating what the guitar's maximum volume is an important step in adapting yourself to an acoustic guitar. How do we do that? Well, what we might do is we might go back to our scale from before, or we could play a chord, or whatever we want. In fact, let's do a chord, because we have a question from Tom Joseph asking if we have any tips for arpeggiation. Well, we'll see if we can get that in the same time. So, good question, my man. If we don't get it now, we'll get it later. So, let's go to this chord shape. This is an A minor 7. Paying attention to our tips about holding the guitar, and our tips about fretting the guitar. If we play this chord, starting on the A string, we get A, the open string, 2, open again, 1, and then 3 on the high string. Let's try playing each of these strings one at a time, and we'll see if we can coax out the maximum possible volume from our guitar by hitting it progressively harder and harder. I really don't think this guitar is getting any louder than that. But in terms of the force that I can put into the string, I can keep going. I've got more in me. The guitar is not getting any louder. In fact, this guitar reaches a 10 in terms of its volume around about the time that I reach maybe a 6 or a 7 in terms of how hard I can hit the damn thing. So the point with this is to acknowledge how loud your guitar can go, and play within its limits. Play within the limits of what the guitar wants to do rather than what you feel like you can put into the guitar, because what you put in might not always come out. if that makes sense. And it's also not going to be terribly efficient or terribly fun to play. Here's one from Response Audio, says, guilty, hitting too hard, the sound of chords turning kind of muddy. For sure. Oh, here's a great one from Hooked on the Fly. Another point about how the sound can change with your arm touching the top is the tuner you have in the headstock. Listen to the difference when you take the tune off. Well, let's find out. Get rid of that. Well, there is a little difference there, you're right. Let's pop it back on. It's subtle, but it's definitely there. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. There you go. 100%. So, going back to the hitting hard thing. So yeah, if you've got a headstock tuner, take it off. Nice tip. I like that. I've learned something. Very cool. Anyway, what else do we have? So yeah, regarding hitting the string too hard, here's one from Sacred Godslayer. Says if you go too loud, the string volume becomes uneven. For sure. Some strings are going to be able to produce more volume than others. The high strings probably less than the low strings. So playing within our guitar's means is kind of important. So what we might get is we might spend a bit of time with maybe just an arpeggio. And just feeling out what it's like to play loud notes on this guitar. Feeling out where the middle notes are in terms of dynamics. Feeling out where the quiet notes are. As you can hear, it sounds quite nice. If we dig in too hard, things get messy, especially on single notes. Things get distorted, the top starts to distort, the piezo starts to distort. It's just not a very happy time, right? Not a nice thing. And also, I'm having to work pretty hard for that. And I'm, a reasonably strong guy. It's still a little bit of effort that I'd rather not expend, especially considering I'm not actually getting anything out at the other end. So, depending upon what your guitar is doing, play within its means. But this also leads me to another thing with regards picking, that it makes a huge difference in terms of the guitar's tone, especially on acoustic, where you play on the guitar string. So whether we play here, or whether we play here, night and day difference. Let's take a listen to that again. Huge difference. Just night and day. Now, you might think about this, if you're familiar with playing electrics with multiple pickups, you might think about this as a little bit like having a pickup selector built in directly in your pick. So, think about playing back here, almost like playing on your guitar's bridge pickup. So you're playing... That can be our squawky bridge pickup. This is like having a mumbly neck pickup. Let's do an experiment together. Let's try playing some stuff. We're going to play some simple chords, and we're going to experiment with dynamics. We're going to experiment with where we play on the guitar's speaking length of the string, on this portion of the string. The chords are going to be as follows. We're going to take an A minor 7 once again. Which in this case is going to be A. Fret number 2, open string on G. Fret number 1 on B, open string on A. And then we're going to slide everything up 2 frets and play the same thing. It's the good old-fashioned stairway chord progression. Let's try playing this chord quite loud, this chord quite soft. And let's play them both somewhere up by the neck. Let's try playing this one soft and this one loud in the same position. Let's play this one loud and this one soft, but I'll play the loud one back here and the soft one up here. Let's do that on these 2 cameras so we can see what's going on. Loud one here, soft one here, like this. That sounds like 2 entirely different guitars. It's crazy. Same thing here, loud at this end, but with my pick here, soft with my pick here. Night and day difference. Now, even just being cognizant of this is going to make a big difference to how good you sound in your acoustic, but when we start to factor this in with improvisation, it becomes something even more entertaining where we can start to use this as something to thread some interest through our improv. So if we go back to that fusion backing track that I had a second ago, this is, if anyone wants to play along, this is one of the fusion backing tracks that we had available on GI+. It is now available on licklibrary.com. This is our fusion style backing track. I think it's labeled Tom Quayle style backing track because a lift Tom would play over quite a lot in 2011. Back in the day, I wanted to call it 2011 YouTube Fusion because YouTube Fusion was a thing back in 2011. Anyway, the chords are A minor 7, C minor 7, D minor 7, F minor 7. If we play with everything in one place, with one volume, we might get this. When we start to reduce some variation, both in dynamics and pick position, we've got so much expressive potential available to us. Now, this is not something that is limited to your solo playing. If you're playing chordal accompaniments, what on earth is happening here? Oh, would you look at that? Camera's misbehaving. If you're playing chordal accompaniments, the same thing can be true. Same thing can happen. Let me a quick second. I'm going to turn this off, turn it back on again. I don't know what's going on there. We're going to have to send this back to Sony and see what the major malfunction is, but we'll figure that out. If we're playing some chordal accompaniments, let's say we're playing some classic chordal stuff. Let's say we're playing G, D, E minor, and C. We'll make it a C add 9, just for argument's sake. Well, depending upon how we vary our attack and how we vary our position on the strings, Well, we can do some really, really fun stuff. Really, really nice stuff. Now, I realise I can't actually cut back to that camera because that camera is off. Let me just switch that back on. I don't know what's going on with this camera. I'm just misbehaving. It's been a long-serving friend, so maybe it just needs a little bit of a rest. It's going to come back on right about now. There we go. Nice. So yeah, this whole business of playing with your dynamics, really, really important step for sounding nicer on an acoustic guitar, being cognizant of your dynamics, playing within the guitar's dynamic limits, but also exploring position on the guitar's, I guess the area where you can pick is going to give you access to a whole bunch of sounds that maybe you wouldn't have access to if you weren't aware of this stuff, or at least didn't pay attention to this stuff. Now, I've got some questions about gypsy jazz. So this is a fun one, right? This is our friend Cowcat is saying, it depends on the style and guitar. Gypsy jazz generally played really, really loud with big picks and hand weight, for sure. So this is, I guess, perhaps a stylistic anomaly, if you want to call it that. We have a whole guitar tradition that is based around playing very, very hard with the downstroke, rest stroke, with a very thick pick. I've reached down to the floor because the only place I could find my thick pick was on the deck. Definitely not a gypsy jazz player, let me tell you. But yes, in this instance, it is a style that revolves around the distorted clatter that you get when you play a guitar a little bit too loud for itself, especially on those Maccaferis type guitars, which they tend to project quite well. They're surprisingly loud, but still, you can play too loud for the top. But that is a sound. It's a thing that definitely has an identity all of its own. Here's a great one from Daryl Queen saying those guys tend to pick close to the bridge too, for sure, 100%. Depends on the flick they give on the attack, more or less giving the guitar hole open for volume. I see what you mean. I see what you mean here. Now, if anybody's interested in this, there are some really great tutorials by a gypsy jazz player called Yosho Stefan. I saw a lot of this for the first time on the Cracking the Code website. Really, really great stuff. I don't know if we have any gypsy jazz content on Lick Library. If it's something you want to see, if you guys want to see some gypsy jazz stuff, let us know. We'd love to make some gypsy jazz stuff for you. We'll get someone in. We'll find a specialist, because I'm not doing it, because I don't know how to play gypsy jazz. Beyond a little bit of a busk. That ain't me. But yes, that is a style where picking hard is a part of the vocabulary. So, on to some actual vocabulary stuff. Daryl Queen says, just keep going around, keep going for the 6th and 9th so you can fade the style for a minute. For sure, right? I can get a little bit. Daryl Queen says, please, with regards to some gypsy jazz stuff on Lick Library, hey, if you're listening, guys, let's make it happen. So gypsy jazz on Lick Library, maybe it's a thing. Maybe we'll do, I don't know, maybe we'll do Learn to Play Django Reinhardt. That'd be pretty cool if we can find someone. I'm sure we can. I think I know the guy. In fact, I definitely know the guy. So I'll be making a phone call about that tomorrow. Can't make any promises. I don't make the decisions, but that would be pretty cool. So anyway, going back to that, let's go into some vocabulary stuff. So vocabulary things. One of the things that we can do to make ourselves sound nicer on acoustic guitar is to prioritize the use of open strings, certainly in our chordal work. So I realize this isn't always possible, but there's something about the sound of open strings that just has a loveliness about it. Now, we can incorporate this in a whole bunch of different ways depending upon the key we're playing in. Obviously, we're somewhat limited in how many open string things we can play. We can reach for capos. Capos not cheating. Capos are great. We can play things in different keys to take advantage of open strings. But something open strings allow us to do is they allow us to play sustained pitches. They allow us to play sustained pitches that we can play on the notes across that we wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. Now, there's not a chance in any circumstances that I could play this note and sustain it for as long as an open string would sustain. It doesn't sound as nice either. Sounds pretty good. That sounds delicious. Can I reach this note without tapping? Probably not. So open strings are your friend for improv. They're also your friend for chord voicing. So if we're playing chords, I'm not going to play G, D, E minor, and C like this. I'm going to play them like this. Keep doing that harmonics, it's quite good fun. This is beyond the scope of today's lesson to talk about extended open chord voicings, but luckily you can get this as part of the John Connon, yes, you guessed it, the John Connon How to Sound Amazing on Acoustic, right? It is a fabulous set of lessons available on licklibrary.com right now. You can go and grab them. If you're a Lick Library member, click the links down below. You can go find them. I'm going to go get them for you guys right now. So this is How to Sound Amazing on Acoustic Guitar by John Connon. It is really, really, really cool stuff. Let's just find John. So if we go to the site, I'm going to show you how to find this. If you're a Lick Library member, you can do the following. You can go to, let's go share screen. Let's share this with you guys. So this is the Lick Library website. If we search for John Connon, we'll get lots of lessons from our friend Digital John, whose name apparently I can't spell. Let's find that again. In fact, let's just go to guitar courses and let's find tutors. He's going to be in here somewhere. All of our tutors. You see all of our tutors there. If you can't be tuned with that, you can click on this very video that we are watching right now. You can click our very video and you can get the links down below. So if we go here, real quick, watching right now, the very video, you can hear me watching. If you go to the links down below, you can click this link where you will get a whole bunch of lessons from our friend Digital John. I'm going to have to update those links. Those links aren't working. Ah, terrible. Modern television. Never mind. But there are links down below. We'll just address those links as we go. There are loads of lessons. They're absolutely fabulous. It's a whole long course where you can get a ton of lessons about how to sound amazing on the acoustic. And one of the things is including open strings in your chord voicings. Go there for that stuff, right? That is magic stuff. Now, there's one last thing I want to encourage you to do if you want to continue exploring how to sound great on the acoustic, and that is ditch your steel string acoustic and try a nylon string. So one of my pet favorites when it comes to guitar sounds is nylon string, because it's just such a friendly sound. It's such a fun, soft thing to play with. Now, one of the things that's so great about nylon, this particular nylon is a Godin Multiac Mondial. So it doesn't have much of an acoustic sound, but it sounds really great plugged in. One of the things we love about nylon is there is all of the expressiveness that you get from a steel string acoustic, but it has a very soft transient response. and a very constricted dynamic range. So you can play really loud and really soft, and the notes come out quite similar. The tone is different, but they sound quite similar in terms of volume. Really stunning. Now, I am not going to encourage you to answer your problems by going and buying gear. That is not the objective of what I'm doing here, but it's definitely something to explore. So if you haven't done so already, go out and check out nylon string. Now, the cool thing about this is you don't have to spend a fortune on an expensive stage nylon like this. We had, actually, funnily enough, Sacred Godslayer is talking about exactly the same thing. We had an Ortega nylon in that we did a review of a couple of years ago, and it's killer. It's really, really great. And it's less than 200 quid, which again is quite a lot of money, but still, I mean, if you got 200 quid to spend on a new guitar, I spent 150 quid on this guy. This is my 12 string, and it's very, very cool, and I play it every once in a while. But if you can get some of this magic, this friendliness, this really beautiful, soft, lead-friendly kind of sound, if you can get some of that action for not a lot of money, you should most definitely do it. So, guys, a recap on how to sound amazing on the acoustic guitar. Here's some of my thoughts on the subject. The first thing we address is our left hand fretting position. We make sure that we are not right on top of the fret, but we're a little further back from the fret. This applies on nylon, applies on steel string, it applies on your electric too. It's especially important on steel string acoustics, important on nylon too. We also explore the way we're holding the guitar. We need the guitar to sit comfortably on our lap so the left hand is able to move freely, but we don't want much contact with the guitar's body. We don't want much contact with the guitar's back. All of these things are going to help the guitar sing and speak a little bit more freely. Next thing we're going to pay attention to is how hard we're picking. Are we playing within the guitar's dynamic range? And are we picking too hard for the guitar? Unless that's part of the style. There was some love for gypsy jazz. Big fan. Can't play any of it, but a big fan. That is a style that's oriented around playing really hard. If that's the case, great. In most cases, we want to play within the guitar's dynamic limits. We also need to experiment, or we should experiment, with where we're picking, up and down. And the last thing is some vocabulary stuff. Play around with some open strings. And if you haven't done so already, check out nylon. One last tip is if you're the kind of player that always plays with a plectrum, don't be afraid to get your fingers involved. That should go without saying. So, that's been a look at how you might sound great on the acoustic guitar. Let's get into some questions, because you guys have some. I'm going to try and answer as many of them as I possibly can. So let's get into it. Who do we have? We've got some real good ones that have come in. We're going to start with this question up here. Our friend Suntanu Official wants to know, I really wanted to know how my acoustic guitar technique can be helpful for my electric guitar playing. Well, some of the points we've already addressed here were the fretting pressure and playing within your means, or fretting position and playing within your means in terms of volume on the electric guitar, on the acoustic guitar. This is also true on our electric guitar. So if we actually grab an electric guitar, let's put this down for the time being, and let's grab the nearest electric guitar that is to hand, which is my friend John's Telly. This is a really cool guitar that I've been enjoying being custodian of. It is a little out of tune, so I'm going to fix this as I talk about this stuff. I haven't prepared any electrics for this, so no electrics were harmed in the making of this video. Let me just very quickly tune this guy while we talk about it. So all of these points that we talked about on our acoustic are equally true for our electric, and I shall demonstrate. So let's just get this something approximating in tune, and we'll find ourselves an appropriate sound. So I've got my super crack, and hopefully this isn't going to be super, super loud, but we'll figure it out. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Let's get it close. Should have tuned one, but I didn't think we were doing electrics today, so I didn't bother tuning one. Let's go right here. Yep, that's probably about right. Okay, so if we treat ourselves to this kind of noise, where we've got a bit of filthy gain, and an out-of-tune A string. Oh, it's the G string. It's always G. If we pay attention to our left-hand position, let's go over here, and our right-hand position, there's my fretting position. Take a look at this. Let me just adjust this camera because the telly is not quite as long as our acoustic. So we'll go here. Let's maybe take a look at some minor pentatonic lines. There are a few points there where I'm clattering on the fret and not playing on the air. This note here will be clearer, richer, and more resonant if I get my finger off that fret wire and leave it a bit of space to exist. We can also pay attention, if you look at my right hand, to where we're picking on the string. All of these things will become more apparent when you practice them on acoustic, because the acoustic tends to reveal this sort of thing to us. Something else that becomes true is playing within the guitar's dynamic means, i.e., how hard do we have to pick to get the most loud out of our guitar, and how much is too much? There I'm picking pretty hard. Honestly, I could probably pick harder again. Is it getting any louder? Not really. And that's not just because we have distortion on. That's about as loud of a note as I'm likely to get, and I am not playing with the full force of my picking power. This dynamic control gives me the ability to play within the guitar's dynamic means. And again, this is really, really well highlighted when you're playing acoustic guitar. Now, hopefully that's answered your question. It's a very, very cool point though. On to another one from our friend Helmet Strap. He's talking about playing with the rounded part of the pick. What do we mean by that? Well, let me show you very quickly. Here, friends, is the round part of the pick. You can maybe see that. This camera is not an autofocus, but you can maybe see that. This is the round part of the pick. This is the sharp point of the pick. This is normally the bit that we touch the string with, but we can also play with the corner of the pick. The rounded part like this has a different tone, and it can sound a bit warmer, a bit fuller, maybe a little bit, I guess a little bit less biting and a bit more full of body. It has a bit more of a scratchy attack and almost a little bit of Brian May about it. If we play with the point of the pick, I feel like it offers more precision. But playing with the corner can give us a little bit more warmth in the tone. I find it a little more difficult to control, but that could just be practice. With the point, a little more accurate, but that's just because I'm used to it. Playing with the corner, things get a little bit warmer, a bit more, you know, I guess a bit more full sounding. It's a very interesting point. Have I done that whole thing with no volume on the electric guitar? That is absolutely ridiculous. Unbelievable. Let me just go back to that real quick. Can you guys hear that now? I could hear that. Can you guys hear the electric? Yes? Could you hear the electric? Let me know in the comments if you could hear the electric the whole time. I really hope you could. Let me know. Please let me know if you could hear that. It's just technical errors on technical errors today. Let me get a little bit closer to this very quickly. So let me get through this one more time. So our friend Suntanu Official, hopefully we've got a bit of electric volume now. I'll just quickly surmise this. Playing... Yes. I'll turn it up a little bit so we can hear it a bit more clearly. Again, didn't expect to do electrics today, so the electric was not set up and ready to go, but... Let's get back to that. So very quickly, this business of playing with different positions on the length of the string that we pick on. Very interesting. Now, also, fretting close to the fret wire, fretting on the fret wire, dull, bright, dull, bright. Dynamic range. That's as loud as it gets. Any louder is not really helping. With regards to the corner of the pick, here's the tip of the pick. Here's the corner of the pick. Here they are clean. Here's the tip of the pick. Corner of the pick. Tip. Corner. Little different. Difference in the attack. It is different enough to warrant experimenting with, I think. Here's a question from Larry Warren, now that we've got some volume on the go. Sorry about that, guys. Again, was not expecting to play the electric today. Larry Warren says, does fret wire make a difference? I think it does, because for me personally, I hate the feeling of wood under the finger, i.e. I don't like to feel the fretboard at all. I find it very disconcerting, so I like a very tall fret for this reason, because I like that feeling of playing with air under the finger. If I feel like there's air under the finger and I'm not touching anything but the string, I know I'm in the right domain in terms of my fretting technique. Here, frets are a little low for my liking. But if I were to grab, say for example, one of my PRS, where I've had it refretted with big wire, let's take the red one for example, the magic red PRS. Can we get a bit of love for this telly, by the way? This telly is absolutely stellar. If I go here, again, don't know if this guitar's in tune, but oh, it's a good noise. Feels much more comfortable to me. I can also tell much more clearly, I think, whether I'm actually on the fret wire or not. Additionally, it allows me to play some slightly heavier strings, these being 10s for example. But I can get some leverage to push the string in this direction, because the string is not close to the fretboard. There is some clearance between fretboard and string, enough for me to push the string in this direction, because I have enough room to get my finger this way on the string, without also having to have a high action. So I don't need to have a Texas Stevie Ray action to make this happen. you get the gist. So fret wire does make a difference, I think. Our friend Tom Joseph, very quickly, I promised I would get to this. We're going to go back to the acoustic for this one, was asking regarding arpeggiation. Let's just throw that back real quick. So some ideas for arpeggiation. I did promise we'd get to this. We've run over, but I also treated you to a broken camera and... clank, I treated you a broken camera and an extended unplugged Telecaster jam. Neither of which were intentional, but hey, there we go. Let me know if you can hear this. This is our acoustic. I'm not getting any of that. Let me just make sure I've got the wrong one plugged in. Here we go. Let's kill this. Too many cables. Hey, acoustic is back. Nice. Now, regarding arpeggiation, let's just get this camera up on screen. Our friend Tom Joseph. Any tips for arpeggiation? For sure. Arpeggiation, I am going to suggest that arpeggiation is a very deep topic regarding arpeggiation patterns, let's say. So ideas like this. It's quite deep and quite full. What I would suggest is to spend some time learning songs that feature arpeggiation patterns. So you might learn something like maybe Hotel California is a good shout. I mean, forgive me if I'm if I'm pitching this below the level that you're at, but that might be a good place to go. And even for advanced guitar players, this is a fun way to do it. But what you're probably looking to do is to separate what's going on in this hand, separate the pattern from what's being done with this hand. They should almost feel like, I guess the way piano feels, where the two hands are independent to each other. Of course, we're working together to create a single sound. But this hand is creating a pattern, which in this case might go something like this. Now what I'm hearing there is pick, middle ring, pick, middle ring, pick, ring. And that is independent of what's going on my left hand. Now, by learning songs and paying attention to what's going on in the pattern, you get this repository, this library, if you will, of right-hand patterns that you can then deploy on any chord sequence or any combination of chords that you want to. And the more of these you have at your disposal, the easier it will be for you to learn new ones, because it's much easier to learn skills that are close to something that we already know how to do than it is to learn completely new skills. Tom, hopefully that has answered your question. Guys, unfortunately, we have already run out of time a little while ago. So we're going to call it there, but thank you so much for having me. This has been How to Sound Amazing on Acoustic. We have another one of these coming up in a few weeks' time, but it's not going to be next week because we've got a guest coming on to talk about this stuff. Somebody who actually knows an awful lot about acoustic guitar and is going to give you some real, some real important insights, let's say. But I can't tell you any more about that. You're going to have to stay tuned for that. So if you're not already, make sure you subscribe to us on whatever platform you happen to be watching this on. If you're watching it on a YouTube channel, either the Guitar Interactive or the Lick Library YouTube channel, make sure you have the notifications icon set to all, so we can let you know when we're about to go live. If you are a Lick Library member, you can get all the lessons we talked about today, these John Connon courses, and more, the Never Going Back Again course, all that sort of stuff. You can get that as part of your Lick Library membership. Go to licklibrary.com for lessons. Go to Guitar Interactive magazine, easy for me to do, for gear, news, reviews, all of the above. We do this every Monday. Make sure you give us a sub. We'll see you next Monday with some more electric related stuff. In a couple of weeks' time, we're back on the acoustics. but electric next week. Thanks for having me. My name's Nick Jennison. Let's jam out a little bit more on that fusion track, but I think, shall I play the nylon? You know what? I'm going to ask you guys in the comments. Shall I play the nylon or should I play the telly? You let me know. First vote gets it. Do we play the nylon or do we play the telly in the outro? You tell me. Let me know. Nylon or telly? First one, first vote gets it. We're waiting eagerly. Marcin says nylon. Nylon it's going to be. Here we go. Nylon guitar. Let's play some nylon guitar fusion. Oh, we got lots of votes for nylon. Everybody wants the nylon guitar. Cool. All right. Nylon it is. Right. My name's Nick Jennison. I'm going to play some nylon. I will see you guys next week. All the fun of the fair, guys. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, check out the links down below for more lessons. I will see you guys next week. Hi, my name's Nick Jennison, and it's my pleasure to announce that GI Plus, the exclusive lesson platform from Guitar Interactive Magazine, is moving to licklibrary.com. GI Plus features a whole host of the best players and educators in the world, bringing you exclusive lessons on everything from metal to blues to fusion and everything in between. Want to level up your shred chops? Check out How to Play Fast by Andy James. Or how about Sweep Picking with Rick Graham? Or maybe country's more your bag? Well, how about a full-length country guitar course from Andy Wood? Interested in learning how to play over changes? Well, members get access to hours of exclusive lessons from fusion maestro Tom Quayle. Or maybe you want your playing to sound more soulful. Well, who better than Chris Buck to show you how it's done? Members also get access to every lesson ever published in Guitar Interactive Magazine, including Michael Caswell's legendary Pro Concepts column. Or maybe you want to learn the secrets of the masters. Well, members get access to over 70 full-length tech sessions where our tutors painstakingly decode the styles of players like David Gilmour, Eddie Van Halen, John Petrucci, Larry Carlton, Slash, Tosin Abasi, Paul Gilbert, and many more. And you get all of this in addition to all of the amazing content on licklibrary.com, which includes note-for-note tuition of over 60 classic albums, weekly lesson uploads, a backing track library, and one-to-one player support. There has never been a better time to sign up than right now.